We are going to start. It is 1 o'clock. I was raised by a military man and he always taught us the value of other people's time. So we are going to start. This is a class I have taught several times here in Lynchburg, also in Roanoke, and it's really been agents that have come up to me. They have seen me. I've been married to my husband, who's a builder, and I got into real estate to sell his homes and to raise my third child, who is in the room right now learning about new construction, Kate Friar. She actually asked me to teach the class, and I said, well, if I'm going to teach it for you, then I'm also going to offer it if anybody else would like to listen in. Katie, a lot of this is going to be for you since you asked for the class, so feel free to, talk, and anyone out there that's watching, we only have a couple people in the class, so we can stop at any point. So anyways, new construction is wonderful because it's a gift that keeps giving. It's like your investors that buy multiple properties and your repeat clients. However, they tend to do it on a larger volume, which is wonderful. And by working with my husband, I've kind of figured out how to do this. And I also figured out when I got into it, I thought I would just sell my husband's homes and raise my family. But what kept happening to me was people would come to me about building and then end up buying because it was either too expensive to build or something that just came up. So my point to that is you can talk to people about building, and you can do posts about building, and you can, present yourself as knowing the build process after you take this class. But you may just find that you pick up clients. So that's a beautiful thing too. The other thing is that because we don't have enough inventory right now, I have 6 $500,000 build jobs going. So that's 3 million in volume because we can't find it. So let me bring them to a builder and let's go create it. If unfortunately now you have to have 300,000 to build a house. And honestly, it's more like 350 and above. So it's really tough to build less than that. There are a couple homes that are less than that, but it's hard. So, yeah. So anyways, I ended up just selling a lot of real estate when people couldn't or didn't want to wait for the build process or go through the build process. So, but someone says they want to know about building. The 3 things you need are you need a builder, a plan, and a lot. And that's the way I present it. I'm like, we can do one thing at a time. We can go find the lot and then work backwards. But I usually recommend working on all 3 at the same time. So sometimes they have been on the internet and they come to me with a plan. Sometimes, I have to help them with that. Sometimes they have a builder. Sometimes they have a lot that they already own. So I usually like to have a sit down meeting with folks, or maybe just a long phone call with folks to find out where they are in the process. Obviously, my husband is a builder, but you would want to ideally find builders that would be willing to pay you a commission. And how do you do that? How do you start to go find that person? You can drive through neighborhoods, and when you see a sign, you could wear some old shoes and go through the house and see if you can actually find the builder. You can call him from the sign, and I've done that. When I see a sign on a builder that I don't recognize, I just pick up the phone. I found out sometimes their brother is the realtor, so they're not, probably going to work with me. But sometimes I've just said, hey, I walked through your house. It's a great, floor plan. Or sometimes in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I probably wouldn't have done it quite that way, and I figure out, but I try and know what they've done, ask them questions. I actually have two right now that I'm just baby stepping. They want to do a spec house, their very first spec house. So I'm trying to help them find a lot. And I'm hoping that if I can help them in this first transaction, that maybe they'll do more with me. So knowing their work, knowing where they're building, complimenting what they're doing, and just, you know, starting a relationship. I would say, so if somebody was coming to me and they were like, I don't know who to use, I would say, let me go show you their work. So if I had an Ed Friar house, I would take them through an Ed Friar house. If I had a Scott Bloomfield Equity Homes house, and I would take them through that. So I just recently, Kate actually shadowed me. I had someone that was talking about a house, and I said, well, this house isn't available to buy, but let's go through it. It's almost done, and you can see their work. If they can see a finished product or something close to finished, I'm not the one telling them, oh, use this builder. They can actually see it, feel it, and touch it. And that makes me feel better because I know that they at least saw something finished. Otherwise, sometimes it's pictures, and sometimes it's a 3D tour, something that I can mail them. I have a whole Trent's Landing package of different houses and different floor plans, even though I've only sold one floor plan in there. Every single person, I've sent them 7 floor plans. They all pick one floor plan, which I find interesting. So I have the client look at their work. I like to get a copy of their Class A builder license, like an actual copy of it, and to give it to them, and then to look them up on DPOR to see if DPOR has any dings against them. If you're selling new construction, honestly, to ask for that license number and show if they've had complaints, what have those complaints been? People don't really know what DPOR is. That's our licensing that license us as realtors. We can have dings against us. Builders, some Ed Friar never had a ding. There are builders out there that have 10 and 20. So like being able to know that and convey that is, I think, you doing your homework for your client. You can also check with the Better Business Bureau. Hey, you know, I've got these 2 new builders, like who, you know, have they ever had complaints at Better Business Bureau? And then also just referrals, being able to say, they built this house right here, you know, if you want to knock on their door, get a phone number and send referrals. Those would all be good ways to help your client get a builder. And then you've got to ask that builder, are you willing to pay a commission? If I bring you somebody that's ready to buy or build, excuse me, you know, will you pay a commission, and understand what that commission is? I wouldn't do it for less than 3%. And then if you do it, you need to understand what exactly they're going to want of you as a realtor. So I'm actually meeting with one of my builders, Equity in Scott Bloomfield, this afternoon, because I've never done a contract build with him. So what is his level of expectation for me on a contract build? Am I the only person that the person talks to? Does he want me to write the contract and then get out of the way, and then he'll build it and do all the interface with the client, and then I just come back in and close it? That's actually my preference, but I have the feeling this builder is going to be like, oh no, he's going to want me to do every single thing. And then I have to decide, am I okay with doing all that for him? But setting that expectation, letting the client know, client, you have to get a hold of me. I have to be, you know, there and be the person. And the builder, that builder likes that, because he really wants to be able to build and not to be slowed down. He's like, I want to be on the Bobcat. I want to go build the house. I don't really want to have to be in the office, you know, figuring out what kind of cooktop they want. So he puts that on me and on Rachel, my assistant. So talked about builder, talk about the plans. How do you find a plan? First, let's see. Let me see. My notes here are going to tell me. My favorite, I have some favorites, and I was telling you about this one plan that we built 5 times, and we have to just change the front elevation and make it look different. But if I'm really just looking for a plan, Pinterest is one of the places that I start. What I like about Pinterest is people pin it. So I know what are the most popular plans. And I feel like instead of me going all over the internet, people have already kind of done it for me. But otherwise, I can also ask the builder. And in this case where I was talking about Trent's Landing, the builder actually brought that plan, and that worked great for me. Frank Betts, Don Gardner, yes, they're good, but there's a lot of good sites that you can go to nowadays. Builders will love to repeat the same plan because they know their numbers, and they know the plan. They've made some adjustments usually to it, and they don't have to get it drawn. You don't have to go to somebody and have it drawn. So if you can just pick up the plan and move it, that is really to their advantage, and actually to my advantage too, because I kind of know it and understand it. If you do have to redraw the plan, it's still great if you can start with something, even if they don't like this and they don't like that. If we at least have something that will get us started, but we can draw them up all the way from scratch. And I've got a couple of phone numbers here on the paperwork that we're sending out, and any of those phone numbers were good. There's actually one other person I want to add to this list too. Hey, this is it.
Oh, morning.
Hi.
Hi.
We're glad you're here.
Sorry.
Oh, no. I've got some paperwork here for you.
Sorry, sure, I had a long day.
No, you got the right day. Do we still not know who's out there in Zoom land?
Well, we've got 4, that one that I don't know, and then there's Joelle, Tabitha, and Kathy.
Hi, Joelle, Tabitha, and Kathy, and an unknown person. So we've been talking that the 3 things need to have in new construction and build jobs is the builder, the plan, and the lot. So we were just talking about the plan, and now we move on to the lot. So the lot is kind of normal. You go search it in the MLS. I don't usually drive people around. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I tend to be like, you're going to have to go drive these lots and then tell me which ones you like. And once I know what they like, then we do more homework on it. If it needs a septic, I always ask to go get the septic permit from the owner, or you can request it at any of the counties. You can either do that by email, and then they'll send you the septic. You want the septic because you need to know where to put the house and where the septic's going. You also need to know if it's a pump system. If it's a pump system or an alternative system could be $20,000. A pump system can be 6 to 8, but you need to know that. And when you write an offer, if you don't have that information, I would suggest very strongly that you do a study period for 30 days. And that way you can get the builder out. I like my builder to walk the lots and bless them for whatever the people are wanting. You need to know your setbacks, because I had a very sweet person that I'm actually meeting this afternoon, and she showed me this $1,200,000 house, and she has a $500,000 budget. But when I just even got the dimensions off of the house was 115 feet wide and the lot was 85 feet wide. So it wasn't even going to go on there. So, have them do some of the homework, and do some of that driving and help in finding the lots, or if they have a neighborhood, you may have to get that, but then either have a study period or have that septic permit. If I did not have a septic permit and have the builder walk it, I would absolutely have the study period or make it contingent on those two things, because I never want to buy a lot without knowing where that septic is and making sure that it's gravity fed. I usually will add some language in my lot to my contract that says that there has to be a gravity fed septic permit for a 3 or 4 bedroom, whatever they're building, with the location desired by the purchaser. So I had a 6-acre lot. It only perked in one corner, and that's the corner they wanted to put the house. So putting in there some kind of language that the location is, where they want to put the house is a smart thing. But if you just do the study period, then you're going to be fine too. So either way can work. All right. Financing. So financing on construction loans is honestly, it's kind of a pain. Most of the time we have a construction loan, and then we have a 30-year regular permanent loan. The construction loan process will have 2 closings. I usually have been sending them to Randy Nexum at Bank of the James here lately. And then also Mike Clark. I've given their names again under this paperwork. And because there's 2 closings, the second closing, they're just updating title work and they're just updating some stuff. So the second closing is going to be a little cheaper than a normal closing, but absolutely you're going to have, like if your normal closing was 7,000 in closing costs, this is probably going to be closer to 12. So it's like 1.5 of what a normal closing is. And these loan officers would give them that information. And again, with this lady that I'm working with right now, I just sent her to Randy Nexum and have him give them that good faith estimate, and then they'll know. But go ahead and explain it to them that the construction loan process is going to be more expensive. My husband, as well as most of the builders that do contract builds with me, we ask for a 10% down payment on signing of the contract. So the folks would give us 10% down. That will count to their 20% down if they're going for a mortgage and they need 20% down. So I would never build a house. I mean, they could put purple carpet, they can make it as ugly as can be. And I would just 10% down I would never do it for just a small amount of money. I've had people say, oh, won't you do it for VA? No money down, FHA 3.5%. And I'm like, no, if I'm building, it's 10%. So that's just the people that I represent. The builder can supply the financing, but he has to own the lot. So sometimes people are like, well, Grandma and Grandpa are giving us this land. If the builder will just come in and build it, then we'll just close on it. But the builder would be putting all of his money at risk on something he didn't own. And that would be dumb. I'm not saying you couldn't find someone to do it, but Mr. Friar would never do that. Or they own the lot, and then we would have to get them to deed us the lot, and then we'd build the house. And that usually isn't how most builders will roll. So if the client owns the lot, then they're usually getting the construction loan. Now, I do have this one builder, Equity Enterprises, that if you do the 10% down in Trent's Landing, he'll let you pick 6 or 8 things. But it has to be one of his plans that he knows sells. So that one plan that I was telling you that's doing so well, he'll just pick that house up and repeat it, and he will supply the financing. I don't know too many builders that will do that, but that's a great program if you can talk a builder into doing it. And he might do it if he knew the plan, and he would consider it a spec house anyways, and he knows it sells well. So. All righty, go into page 2. Price per square foot. This is something everybody asks, like, what is the price per square foot? I always tell people, depends on whether you want a basement or a slab home. A basement adds $40,000 to $50,000. A garage adds $30,000 to $40,000, two-car garage. So you need to start with some fundamental questions. It's very similar, honestly, to when you meet somebody and you want to find them a house. You have to ask them questions. So do the same thing with building. How many bedrooms do you want? Do you need a basement? You know, do you not need a basement? Do you have to have a garage? You know, those kind of things. But then to help them, part of what we have to do, and this is the thing that I just was telling you, the lady she's probably going to sign a contract with me for under 600,000, but she showed me $1,200,000 house. Cause she don't know, like she didn't know. She's like, well, this house kind of looks like this one. And I was like, yeah, that house is 60 feet wide and that house is 120 feet wide. Like they like not even in thing. But how you help them is helping them with that budget. What is your budget? So if they tell you their budget's 250, you're gonna say, we're gonna have to find you an existing home because builders really can't build. There's no new construction out there for 250. Like you can't find it in the MLS. So find a house. How you do this is just like you do any other search. You go into your regular search and you do 2021 is the build year. Get some of that new construction to come up. Now, is it a slab house or is it a basement house? Pull a couple of those and then do the math on it. If this house sells for 400,000 and it's a 2,000 square foot home, how much does it cost to build per square foot? Everyone get out your calendar.
200.
Right. It's $200 a square foot. So you can say this house in Farmington that sold at this price with this amount of square foot with the basement or without a basement or with a garage, and similar to what you're talking about, sold for $200 a square foot. So if we use, so maybe you have 3 of those and you do the average and you say, it looks like they're selling between 200 and 210. So let's just use 205. It looks like you can afford about a 2,000 square foot home. So now when we go to look at plans, we look for 2,000 square foot on the plan. And the same way with not having a lot, you know, and divide it. And then now what it doesn't take account for is some people have paid more for their lot. A lot in Farmington might have cost more than a lot that's just on a state maintained road. So, you know, there's other factors there, but at least it gets them in the ballpark. Right now, I'm telling people about $200 a square foot. Again, could be a little less if you're no basement, could be a little more depending on the house. All right. So meetings, how do you get this? How do you get it started? So the first meeting is your builder meeting, and you would discuss the commission with the builder before you get them in front of the client. When you bring the client, let him know what you expect. My personal minimum is 3%. I have regularly been paid 5%, but you got to have it, and don't be afraid of these conversations. I'm actually get frustrated with my husband. I'm like, did you ask them what commission they wanted? And he'll be like, no, we just started talking. I'm like, you got to know that because it's got to go in there just like, you know, putting on the deck, you know, or, you know, you gotta have that. First meeting, 1 to 2 hours. It's 1 hour if I do it myself. If I add my husband, it's closer to 2 because he's going to know where you were raised and lots of sweet things about how you grew up. But mine tends to be a little more focused. And what we do usually is we figure out the plan. We kind of work through those square footage numbers. Are the clients going to buy the plan, or are we going to meet someone? A lot of times too, I'll have a little of that started in the phone conversation before we meet. And then, you know, hopefully maybe they brought a plan or we can kind of get started on that. But I make sure that everyone knows about I said within 10,000. Honestly, it's probably a little bit bigger range. It might be 20,000 of what the house is going to cost. And on the first meeting, I go over with this basic spec sheet. And I tell people, for me, and you'll need to talk to your builder, Ed Friar has a 1-page contract and a 4-page, 5-page spec sheet. You could take this spec sheet and add it to our regular contract here at the office, the LAR contract, and you would have this and a plan that you initial and date, and you would have a pretty good starting point of building. At the second meeting, again, 1 to 2 hours, we should definitely have a set of plans. We should be working on a revision. We go over this spec sheet and pretty much finalize it. Make sure you date it every time. You need that date because you're going to revise this a couple of times, and you want to be sure that you're working with the right one. And then after that meeting, the third meeting should be to sign and date. We sign and date and initial the plans. If there's something that's not right on the plans, we change that and mark it up. We sign the contract and we sign and initial all the spec pages. We allow the builder to contact the client directly from that point on. You will come back at close, and his job, he's the general contractor. His job is to build the house. Your job is to come back in and then close it. Now, I have this one builder that I think is going to make me do more than that, but I ideally like to say my job was to get it under contract. Your job is to build it. My job is to close. That's ideal. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about objections. Overcoming objections. Should I buy or should I build? This is a question you're going to get. If I can find you a home that you would be happy with, I think you tell them they should buy. You generally get more square footage for your money. And the client needs to know themselves and their partner. Can they withstand 100 decisions, like literally 100 decisions? You can. I have seen people make this a full-time job for 6 months. I mean, the wife is out there every day. She's overthinking every single thing. And I get it, you know, so you have to understand, you and whoever, if there's someone else involved in that with you, you know, also, can they stay in a budget? If one of the spouses has to have everything gold plated and can't seem to stay in a budget, you just maybe shouldn't do that, because you're going to end up arguing about it and you're going to end up overspending. A lot of times you have to move out of your house and you have to rent for 6 months to make the loan work. So do they have the flexibility to handle that? And then delays happen. COVID has had tons of delays. You know, whatever they put on that paper, I've had builders hit it, and then I've had builders be 2 weeks off and 3 months off. So yeah, it just, you know, you have to kind of warn them of that. The builder is paying you. I should go directly to another builder. Oh, the builder is paying you. I should go directly to another builder. I explained it's like a referral fee. It's my commission is paid by the builder. And how's that any different than the seller paying commission? And I'm going to guide you through a very complicated process. And I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I'm so glad I met you, because they weren't getting anywhere. And I introduce them to good builders that have good reputations and they have good endings. And could they go directly to a builder? Yes, they could. But I don't know, you know.
Is the commission fee on a new construction, is it different?
So I think it's normally 3 to 5%. So the one I'm doing this afternoon is 3.5. I generally have a list and I'm doing the sell side of it. I prefer 5, but you know, this builder and I kind of have that relationship, and I've got so much going with them. It's a volume thing too at this point. So we're doing 3.5. Yeah. Contracting, you should have the client sign a buyer representation form, just like always. Your initial one you did when they were starting to buy a residential home would suffice. So even if I use the builder, sometimes builders have their own contracts. So even if I do that, I still have them sign the dual agency. You can use a VAR, an LAR, or an RVAR contract with the builder spec sheet attached. Sometimes the builders have their own spec sheet. If they don't, I use mine and ask them to edit it. Some builders too don't give you enough on the spec sheet. So they'll have this one page, they'll have 10 or 12 things, and that's not enough if you're doing a contract build job. The only time that's worked well for me is when I can reference another house. So I'll say anything that's not on this spec sheet is going to be built just like 1306. So if it's not specifically addressed, it goes back to 1306 Leeward Way or whatever is the name of the house that they saw that we're picking up and moving. And then I always have good pictures of that house too. Let's see. Contract options. Discuss the builder whether you want to offer different contract options such as custom and semi-custom. So if you get into a little bit of production, that is what I am doing with this one builder. He has a 10% contract where he does it and it's semi-custom, and then he has a full custom package. So talk about that with your builder. Some builders are just custom builds. Some builders just want to build the whole thing spec and sell it at the end. So miscellaneous. I also explain that I get them to contract and then they work directly with the builder. I will come back in at the end and help close. I have said that. You can run the sale through the MLS, but you must have a signed listing agreement. So I always put mine in the MLS. Why? Because I like to show that volume so that I can go out and get more business. It's also good for appraisals for your builder. So if that builder's staying in that subdivision, you want to get that appraisal. It usually helps everybody else. Discuss proposed builds as marketing strategy with your builder. This allows you to enter it in the MLS, an unbuilt house on a lot owned by the builder with pricing to attract potential clients to the property. So it needs to be reasonable and realistic pricing because we're all going through COVID and a lot of prices have gone up and you don't want to switch and bait. But I have one of these right now in Trent's Landing on lot 31. And people call me, and I like that people call me. So if you have a young builder who's just getting started out and he owns a lot, we're like, hey, why don't we put a proposed build? What house would you build on that lot? And if they're like, I would build a little ranch. I was like, well, let's propose that ranch. Let's have it there. Let's have the pricing ready. And maybe I can go out and find, because I'm advertising it and I have something to advertise. So we have a listing agreement on that lot. And it is, I think, how I got this contract build job, because they called me off of the proposed one. So how to find a builder. Call the Home Builders Association and get a list of the local builders. You could join the Home Builders Association. You could go to their meetings and meet. You can go through new construction subdivisions and stop by or call builders from their signs. And I even gave you a script. Hi, I'm Tina Friar with Keller Williams. I just went by your house at 123 Main Street. Your kitchen is amazing. Compliment what you see. Is this a contract home or a spec? If it's a contract, I asked them, do you know if the client will have a home to sell? Do you think I could contact them? Why not? Ask. I am looking to create a relationship with a few builders to help them or their clients find lots or sell their homes. Have you ever considered doing a spec house? I like to start in the fall and have them ready in the spring. I love to bring plans that are popular in other areas, proven winners. Could I meet with you at 123 Main Street tomorrow at 11? So just some conversation there. On your spec sheet, every single thing is listed here, and this is something I go in detail with the builder as well as the client. The builder may have his own spec sheet, but it has all the allowances. It talks about how many outside receptacles you get, just every single thing. And Ed's used this, we perfected it probably our first couple years in business, and this and a good set of plans, we usually just don't run into problems because we've set an expectation. And it's not saying that they can't change or make a change, but those changes need to be in writing, and they should pay for them up front, the cost of them, or pay them to the vendor. So if you've gone over on your lights and you had a $2,000 allowance and you spent $2,500, you just pay that $500 directly to Timberlake Lighting or whoever you picked your lights out with. But you have to help the builder understand that it's their job during the contract process to do change orders. That's on the builder to do that. And I think you do much better if they go ahead and just pay for those as they're occurring and don't leave them to the end. So Kate has shadowed me, and I have had one other person shadow me, Keller Williams agent, and I am happy to have people shadow me as I start these contracts. And if you'd like to ever do that, text me and I'll just put your name on my bulletin board, and the next time I'm doing one, I'll be happy to invite you in. But did you have any questions? A lot of talking there.
I have a question. There's a house being built on my street,
Okay.
and I wanted to stop and ask the builder if it's a custom home or a spec home and give them my card. So how does that work if I am marketing the home? Is it just a straight listing contract, or is all the paperwork the same?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't change because it's a new construction.
No, but wherever it is in the process, when it goes under contract, you really, anything that's not there, whether you're on the list side or the sell side, anything that's missing, you really should write it out. Are they getting a sod yard? Are they seeding the yard? Are they getting any landscaping? No landscaping? Is the builder deciding on the landscaping? Are they getting an allowance? That's just the yard. Now let's go, so if the flooring's not down, if the painting's not
As
done.
far as the advertisement for the.
No, when you get to contract. The
okay.
contract, and just because someone else brought you the contract and it doesn't have those details, you need to add it. So with with Dan O'Neill in Farmington, we have a standard spec sheet, and we actually put it in Dropbox so that when you write your thing, you include his sheet the way he wants it. He wants it to say he doesn't supply screens. Okay, we got beat up on that once. Learned our lesson, put it on the spec sheet. Now, so helping them avoid conflict and helping them, it's really our job, setting expectations. I keep saying that all the time, but when we give them the key, if we've told them you ain't going to have, a bush in the front yard, then they're okay with that. But if they were expecting bushes because they saw bushes over here, yeah, that's the part that's helpful. But yes, you should stop. Now, what if he says it's a custom job? Then what?
There's a lot next door that he owns, so I'll ask him if he's building a spec house on that lot.
Right.
Or if I could advertise that lot for him.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And say, do you have a plan for that? Is he going to pick up that house and move it over? Could I take pictures of this house when it's finished so I could show your work? Could I put it as a proposed build and maybe get someone to buy it before you've even started? Would you like that? I have one builder who's like, oh, heck no. He's like, I just want to build it and then have them come buy it. He does. And other builders are like, oh no, I'd like for you to pre-sell it. So you just start a conversation and sound intelligent. Try to, that's the hard part, and hopefully coming to this class will have helped you a little bit, but yeah. And if he says it's a spec and you live in the neighborhood,
no. Yeah, I live 4 houses down.
That's important. Say, yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious how he answers it. You have to text me or call me. and let me know.
I'll let you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
I wanted
I would love to
have this
help you.
class first though, because I wanted to make sure I knew what I was
Yeah.
talking about when I approached him.
That's what I love about Keller Williams is that we do these classes. We try and teach you. So feel free to call me too. If you feel like there's anything you didn't overcome an objection or anything, or you need to lean on me, come lean on me,
Yeah.
And like I said, they're the gift that keeps giving. So you sell one house, then you sell 2 houses, then you sell 5 houses, and then half your businesses, new construction. Yeah.
I've heard that a lot of contractors don't like working with realtors.
Right now, they don't really need
'Cause they don't really need
realtors,
us
but
right
then
now,
I feel
yeah.
like everybody kind of doesn't need us, in some ways right now. You feel that way, but also, I'm doing my 6th one with this builder that, I don't know, like we're still selling them. So, and then some builders, I'm not allowed to really list them. If they haven't sold them at a certain stage, then he'll let me list them. But half the time he's already sold them, the other half the time I get to list them, and that's just how he does it. And I'm like, okay, and he doesn't want me to pre-sell anything because he doesn't really need to fool with people.
Mhm.
It's going to sell. So he's like, I'd rather just build it uninterrupted. If you like it, you can buy it. And you got it. However people want to do it is how we try and do it. So. How about Zoom land? Any questions in Zoom land? No.
I asked in the chat and didn't get any response there.
Okay. Kate, any questions since you requested this class? None? You've just been raised around it so long, you know it all?
I'd rather ask after.
You put her on the spot.
No, you should ask now so everyone can benefit from your questions.
Well, I guess my question would be that you said that with the vendors, if they charge extra, you just pay that to the vendor. But if it's like hassle and things that affect like build time or things to progress, I mean, when would the builder be able to charge more because of, people adding in a lot of things or changing things, or is that just?
So some builders say there's going to be a 20% markup on all changes.
Okay.
And that's, again, every builder is different and we just have to log that in. And then as far as hassle or the builder could say, we're just too far down the road. No, you can't do that. Most of them don't, and they just get the hassle. They understand it's part of it and it slows them down and delays them. Yeah. But I do try and tell people the best thing you can do for the builder is to pick everything out early. Like before they practically start the house, have everything decided on. Because what happens is, the faucet, I just picked out this faucet and I'm like, we just love this silly faucet, Rachel and I did. So then we did all our lights and everything based on this faucet. It's black and it has this gold little, and we're like, oh, we love it. Well, now our lights match it and that. So the more you do ahead, you're going to change your mind. You're going to see something pretty, so I just try and get them to pick out and do as much ahead. You know how you said with your flip, you're like, I wish I had everything, the plan, everything decided, because it really makes a project go a lot quicker. So I just encourage them. And for me, everybody I represent, I give you a vendor sheet and it says you go here to pick out your lights, you go here to go here, but that's builder driven. I can't really give you that because Ed's is different from Scott's, which is different from Dan's, which is different from another person's, but you could use the template of it and get your builder to fill it in. Yeah, and it also has a little bit about what order you should go in. So, yeah. Any other questions? All righty then. Thank you all.
So basically what you're saying too is whoever owns the lot gets the loan.
That's really how it has to work, kind of, Could you flip it back into the builder's name? Yes, you could if the person owned it. Most builders want you to get the loan if you're doing a custom. All right,
Thank you.
thanks, you're welcome.